I want to bring in Jonathan Turley. He's a constitutional law attorney. He's been watching all of this. So David Pecker's cross-examination continues today. From what you've been able to glean so far, what else should Trump's team do to try to explain to the jury that this was not illegal?
Well, they're doing a good job, largely allowing the case to collapse on its own weight. You know, this case thus far is about as good a model of prosecution as the Titanic is a good model for navigation. I mean, I don't understand why they would start with Pecker. In my view, he's disastrous. You know, first of all, I'm speaking as a criminal defense attorney. Most good prosecutors, if they know that the criminal defense attorney is going to bring up something damaging, will bring it up themselves. And the most damaging aspect of Pecker's testimony is that he did the same thing for a wide variety of celebrities. I mean, that is really quite damaging. And by not revealing that to the jury in your direct, there is a sense that there was a hiding of the ball here. You can lose credibility with the jury. I mean, because that's really quite remarkable. Pecker said that he was doing this for Trump decades before he ran for office. He said he did this for people like Schwarzenegger. Was he trying to get Schwarzenegger elected president? Because he can't be president. So at what point did the prosecutors think that this was going to come out, and why they didn't bring it out themselves? So today it'll be interesting. The key here for the defense is don't rough this guy up. He's not been a bad witness. He's testifying with a gun to his head. He has an agreement with prosecutors, and he's actually given you some very good stuff. So I would be very careful not to start taking wild swings at this guy.
Jonathan, you and I have talked about the fact that we know of at least a couple of attorneys we think who are part of this jury pool and now officially on the jury. How much does that help potentially President Trump's team? There's been a lot made of that because while a lot of what's being presented may sound, dirty or unseemly to the average person out there, if it doesn't amount to a crime, and Alvin Bragg is doing something very unique in trying to get to that place, are having folks like professionals on the jury, is that going to help?
You know, Shannon, I have always opposed attorneys being on a jury. As a criminal defense attorney, I never want them on a jury. The reason is not to have any disparaging remarks about these two attorneys. I have no reason to believe that they won't be unbiased. But they just simply have too much authority in that room. This case has no crime that is discernible. Many of us are still debating, second week into this case, what was the crime Trump was trying to conceal? If one of those attorneys states in that jury room that they think that is a perfectly valid indictment, it probably will carry some weight. The key is that it takes a lot for people to stand up, even in a jury room, and be that one or two person to say, I have doubts. Particularly in New York, when you have doubts of a conviction of Donald Trump. To have an attorney weigh in at that moment could silence those dissenting voices. That's why I think it's a bad idea, and I don't think it's a good thing to have two attorneys on this jury.
Okay, Jonathan, since now everyone's had a chance to have a sleep, I don't know if it was a good night's sleep, it was a sleep after the Supreme Court argument yesterday, and the Supreme Court justices heard their last case and possibly the most consequential case of all of these. And you have a op-ed in the New York Post. The headline is oral argument suggests the Supreme Court about to plunge into a constitutional abyss in the Trump immunity case. What do you mean by falling into the abyss?
Because this is a case where you often have a case where there is an argument that's sort of a cliff argument. You go over that cliff and you're not certain where you'll land. This case is different because there's cliffs on both sides. That is, both parties are advancing fairly extreme arguments. You've got the special counsel saying a president has no immunity. And you have the other side saying a president has complete immunity. And the justices, the three liberal justices clearly seem to be intending to support the special counsel. But the other justices wanted to find a third option. And they didn't buy the government saying, you have to trust us, we're the government. You could almost see some of these justices looking north towards New York. Because the third lawyer in that room was Alvin Bragg. I mean, because everything they were discussing about political cases is unfolding at the same time in New York.
Shannon, do you have any last questions for Jonathan?
Well, I want to ask Jonathan the same question I keep getting asked after the arguments yesterday. Do we think this is an end of June argument, or because this case has been on a rocket docket sort of speed, do you think that they give it to us maybe in May?
Yeah, Shannon, as you know, they can get this out as soon as they want. If they're going to remand it to the trial court, which some of the justices seem to be thinking along those lines, at least 4 of them were discussing the record and why it doesn't answer some of these questions of that line between what's an official function and what's a non-official function. If they agree with that, they could send this back fairly soon. And even with that earlier result, I doubt that the district court could handle that question and still have a trial before the election. But obviously, June is the end date that we'll have to be dealing with. What is also clear, though, is that the justices don't feel this sense of urgency of the special counsel. He has said it's absolutely vital to prosecute and potentially convict this president before the election. It's just not clear why. Because, first of all, he could be president even if you convict him. But the special counsel sort of flipped the normal policy of the Department of Justice to avoid election periods for trials. He says that he may try this case all the way up to or even through the election.
All right, Jonathan Turley, Shannon Bream, great to have you kicking us off today as Shannon Bream is down there, right there, ready for all of the action, and we appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.